welcome to another episode of the Science Corner. I'm Ariana Zins, and this is my host, Olivia Halverson.
Hi, I'm so excited for today. We have such a good show planned for you that will involve an interview with guests, as well as an amazing video of some of our local town favorites. Sports people, you better be watching this.
Sports, what is it? Why is it called sports? Olivia, can you give us a definition?
Absolutely. First, you're going to see what some of our fellow peers say about sports.
Hi, what's your name?
Heidi Gunderson.
We're going to ask you some questions about sports. What do you think sports are?
Sports are some physical activity people like to gather together, and it's like competitive thing to do.
Why do you think they're important?
Sports are important because they're a good chance to collab with other people, and really they help your mental and physical appearance.
What's your favorite sport?
My favorite sport is also soccer.
Ah, thanks. Hi, what's your name?
Henry Ulrich.
Thanks for joining us. Can you tell us what you think sports are?
I'd have to say sports are it's fun physical activity in my mind.
Why do you think they're so important?
Well, people love to watch them. It creates a great atmosphere for people to gather around.
What's your favorite sport?
Probably soccer.
Okay,
Soccer's
thanks.
Thank you to all the randomly selected people. The dictionary definition is defined as an activity involving physical exertion and skill in which an individual or team compete against each one another for entertainment.
It is easy to say that sports have brought competition, fun, entertainment, and also tears of joy and happiness as your team wins or loses. But what makes a team good? How can teams successfully win?
Yes, it could be the skill, the coach, and the athleticism from players, but there are actually other forces acting upon all sports. Forces such as Newton's laws and nature's own gravity.
All throughout history, sports have been created, destroyed, and changed a whole ton. Today, we are going to be talking about one sport in particular.
But first, let's talk about the laws of motion, because boy did they play a huge role. First, there is Newton's law, aka the law of inertia. This states that objects change their state of motion only when a net force is applied. An example would be if a hockey puck were to slide on the ice, it would keep going until the friction slowed down or another force stopped it.
The second law of motion deals with forces. Net force is equal to mass times acceleration. The unbalanced force of an object determines how much an object speeds up or slows down. For example, when pushing a shopping cart, it is easier to push a cart that is nothing, as the mass is less. But if you are to push the full cart, more force is required to push it. Using this knowledge, you can use the equation to calculate force, which is F equals ma.
The last and third law of motion states for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. A very good example is when you dive off of a diving board. You push down on the springboard pushes back on you. Let's talk about blocking first. For blocking in volleyball, let's first consider what the skill of blocking consists of. Blocking is a movement combining the hands, feet, and arms.
Blocking is key in volleyball as it gives teams another way of defending the huge, powerful hits, especially in professional games. Unfortunately, you don't see 5'2" people like us blocking because we are just too short. So oftentimes, the very tall people on teams are the ones blocking due to their already tall stature. And then, when they jump, they will be even bigger, benefiting their team.
As you can see, when the ball hits the hands of Abby, the ball deflects when hitting it. As Newton's first law states, whatever is already in motion will stay in motion unless imbalanced force acts upon it.
In this case, the object is the volleyball, and once it is put in play by a throw or serve, it will continue in the same speed as it was going, unless, however, a force is stopping it, like a blocker.
By blocking, Abby is able to defend her side and the ball, which will hopefully go straight down to the ground, with the same force and with gravity playing a part. This unbalanced force changes the course of the volleyball, which benefits many people. But just having the ball hit your hands won't always benefit a team. That is why blockers force their hands into a certain way.
With blocking, you can also see a balanced force from each of the blockers. Say the two blockers went up but tipped the ball with the same force. Then, the ball would go nowhere and stay up at the point it was touched. You can also examine force diagrams within blocking. Let's take a look at the relationship between the ball and the hand after a hit. As you can see, the force of gravity is pulling down while the force of air, or norm, is pulling up. On the sides, though, you see there's the force of the player, and which are the blocker's hand, and the force of the ball after being blocked. Isn't that so cool?
Yeah! Now let's get some more from Hudson High School's own varsity volleyball coach, Dennis Sadoff. Okay, when a player is blocking, what do you say would be the most important thing to be able to do?
The most important thing is to be able to read the hit, where the hitter is coming from, and get their body and arms in front of the player and the ball.
How can a player be efficient and beneficial in the game of volleyball by blocking?
Blocking is the first line of defense, so if we can block a ball back down immediately, we don't have to play defense or offense. We get a point automatically.
How does height help when blocking?
Height helps in blocking in reach above the net. The block is done above the net, and the higher a player can reach above the net, the better they are. So if they're tall and can jump and have long arms, all the better.
Now let's talk about hitting. Hitting is very important as it is the last touch a teammate will make. Usually, volleyball players want this hit to go straight down to the ground to make it harder for the defense. Height sure helps with this skill.
As a hitter, you really want to get a good fluid approach, which is a 4-step or 3-step. This involves coordination and timing. Once that is perfected, where you hit the ball is crucial.
Very much so, Newton's second law is seen in hitting. Whatever force you hit the ball, that's how much the object will go, which is the ball. For example, if you hit the ball at 25 meters per second, then it would go 25 meters per second. As a reaction, this would be the net force.
Net force is the overall force acting upon an object. Many times in science, you can determine these forces through diagrams.
As we talked about force diagrams, let's see how it is in relationship of hitting. There's the force of air on the left-hand corner as it travels down to the ground, and then the right-hand corner has the force applied from the spiker. Lastly, there is the force of gravity, which is always 9.81 meters per second squared, and helps bring the ball down. A player most of the time tries to get it to go to the ground as fast as they can with power. While hitting is very important, digging and passing is just as important. Defensive people are usually very short and are low to the ground. As we show you a clip of Abby Draper digging, notice her stance and form.
As you saw, she's in a low squat with a flat platform and her arms are straight as a board. By having a flat surface, a player can direct or aim the ball to the target, aka the setter. Another key thing is the use of knee pads in volleyball. Although they are very stylish, they are used to protect a player's knees. Knee pads will keep the player's knees unharmed when they are sliding on the ground, and they also slow down the impulse and reduce friction.
But how does the laws of motion apply to this aspect? Simple. While gravity brings the ball down, already the extra force from an attacker gives the ball an extra bit of heat. And as the first law states that an object, the volleyball in this case, would keep going unless something were in the way. Just like the law, the defender is the force that is stopping the ball from hitting the ground.
With this skill, the third law applies very much so, as for every action force there exists an equal and opposite reaction force. So a ball comes at Abby Draper 25 miles per hour, well, then the ball will supposedly deflect off 25 miles per hour.
But the beauty in volleyball is how history has looked at the physics and adapted to. In this skill, a defensive specialist will absorb the energy from the ball by stopping it, but not just sticking a platform straight out.
While the defensive player stays on their feet and tries to get the ball feet first, they and all the other volleyball players of a team wear knee pads.
Knee pads, like we said, provide an extra cushion while sliding and falling on the ground, but it is also an example of impulse.
Now that we've talked about basics like digging, hitting, and blocking, we'll go on to our last aspect, serving. Serving is important as it starts the game and can also win points for your team through aces. There are many different types of serves, whether jump serve or standing serve.
A jump serve mimics and is a lot of the time like hitting a ball over the net. One huge point of serving is to make the serve receivers make a bad pass or shank, which messes up the whole system.
As there are many different types of serves, serving in volleyball actually involves an aspect in science known as projectile motion.
Projectile motion is defined as a form of motion in which an object is thrown near the Earth's surface and it moves along a curved path under the action of gravity only. Now, let's hear what Coach Sadaf has to say about serving.
What would you say is the most important thing to do when serving a volleyball?
The most important thing is to pick a spot on the court to serve to, concentrate on that spot, make a good toss. There's a lot of good important things. I guess you need to make a good toss and good contact, but initially pick a spot that you're going to serve to.
What can players do to be a better server?
Repetition, lots of repetition, particularly just on the toss. The toss is the most important part of the serve. You toss sideways, you have to turn your whole body in order to contact the ball. The toss is in front of your hitting shoulder. You can swing straight ahead and make good contact with the ball. So you can practice serving without actually serving just by practicing the toss over and over again.
Simply, forces are all around us. When a volleyball player applies force to the ball, it can help them pass, set, hit, dig, serve, and block. Amazing what a little force can do. This motion from the force is so powerful that it became a game of basically who can use the laws of physics better.
If you really think about it, that's all sports are like. Without these forces, we wouldn't be able to make and encounter the amazing plays that athletes make.
Well, that's our show. Thank you for watching, and always remember that forces are all around you, helping you out.
Tune in next week when we talk about the planets in the solar system.
Everybody has those days.
Ready? That forces are always acting upon you, and they are so helpful.
You put my snail out there? This is my prized possession. Look, it only has
One of the antennas blew off in the kill. And look at how one eye is way bigger than the other.
Oh, I need another week.
No. we can look through them
Okay,
and edit them in
The last and third law of motion states for what?
You pause and it was like
Because I was leaving room for the image.
you don't need to because you just cut it out.
Okay, whatever. This week when we talk about the planets
Okay,
in
we
the
gotta
solar
go to it.
system.